Hello, and welcome to another edition of Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and we're continuing our series of looking behind the scenes at our productions here at Bergen Community College. And today is a special edition because we have two wonderful guests from the upcoming production of Compleat Female Stage Beauty, which we'll be doing in April here at the Sakone Theater. So welcome to the show, Rebecca Czarnogórski and Alex Vetterlein. Did I do it right, guys?
Yep.
Yes, you
Oh,
did.
good. Welcome. So the show's going well. Rehearsals are happening.
Yes.
Great. So before we get into all the details of being an actor here at Bergen Community College, I'd love for the audience to know a little bit more about you and where you've come from. So Rebecca, how did we find you? Where did you go to school? How did you get to Bergen?
I went to Becton Regional in East Rutherford, and I came to Bergen under the STARS program, so it's free tuition, so it worked out cheaper for me to come here first. And my sister went here a few years back, and she took me to a bunch of the shows, and I knew that the theater program was phenomenal here, so I was really excited to come.
Thank you. That's great to hear. And Alex, how did you?
I went to Pascagoula Valley High School. That's in Hillsdale. I'm from Rivervale. And I initially went to Rutgers University as a pre-med student. However, I felt a little bit of a loss of direction, left, and decided to come here for just one semester, which was last spring. And then I fell in love with it and also found out that I qualified for NJ Stars. So I also have free tuition. And how did I find the theater program? Through you. Do you remember that? On my first day of fall semester, I came to you and asked you about Brighton Beach Memoirs auditions.
You stopped by? Yes, I did.
Yep.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So yes, you were.
So before you got to me and walking in the office, and while you were at high school, did you do any productions there?
I did. I did theater. I've done theater since I was probably like 12 years old. You know, the whole shebang.
What shows did you do?
Into the Woods, Romeo and Juliet, which actually our fellow cast member John Kroner played Romeo. I played Paris, and it's funny because he gets to kick me and beat me up as a ruffian in this show, and he kills me in Romeo and Juliet. The Laramie Project. I've done The Normal Heart. Company, directed by Jim Bumgardner.
So you've done both musicals and non-musical and straight plays.
Yes.
So you've had an experience in both.
Yeah.
Hang on, we'll get back to that. Rebecca, how about you? Did you do anything in high school?
I did, but my director was really big on doing unknown shows, so we did a bunch of unknown shows. Madam's Been Murdered, Tea Will Be Late, Promedy, and Summer of Chaos were my 3 shows in high school. And I also did A Christmas Carol at Hackensack Cultural Arts Center. I got to play the Ghost of Christmas Past.
The musical version or just a play version?
It was a musical version. I actually found out from Jason it was the same version you did here a few years back.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, oh nice. Nick Picciello. Nick Picciello wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, yeah. So, a pre-med student getting here. So you knew you had this theater bug in you. It's just you tried to push it aside and go off to be a pre-med student. Was that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
But it remained in you germinating and growing and saying, you don't want to do this thing.
Exactly. When I did The Normal Heart at Rutgers through their cabaret theater, and that's when I was like, this. I want to do something with performance. This is what I am comfortable with, So, yeah.
I think that's great. And Rebecca, you also, I don't know if Alex has, but I know that you've done backstage because we worked together on Company, and you are a phenomenal stage manager
Thank you.
and actor.
Appreciate
so
that.
Did you do other tech as well before you got
No, doing stage managing for Company was the first time I ever had been backstage.
Out of town, really?
So I was a little nervous about it. It was a totally new experience for me, but I absolutely loved it. And it's another avenue now for me to go down in the future.
And it's great to have because great stage managers are hard to come by, and you did a phenomenal job. You're just so organized. And do you find those two worlds come together? As an actress, is there anything from that stage management training?
I understood a lot more. It definitely was one of the most influential theater experience I've ever had because I learned so much just in that short show time. So I learned a lot, and now being on stage again, I see things differently, and I see that the jobs that the stage manager has to do now, and I kind of know how everything goes together a little bit better than I used to.
And I think you hit on a great thing is some of our audience don't have any idea what a stage manager does. Can you highlight some of the jobs?
During the rehearsal process, we write down the blocking and everything. We keep things organized.
And the blocking is telling where the actors walk around on the stage.
Yes.
That's true. We're going to take it from the So blocking is when the director tells them where to move on the stage, and you write all that down.
Write it all in the script and contact the actors, make sure they're all where they need to be on time. And then during like shows and everything, you're calling cues like when to turn lights on, when to turn lights off, and sounds and everything.
So it's a huge responsibility.
Yes.
And once the show opens, it's really from the moment they say go, it's yours to take until the end of the show. So it's huge. And then you must sympathize with stage managers today as an actor. Saying,
Yes.
I know where you're coming from. I've
Exactly.
been there. Or do you give them a hard time? Just kind of, wait.
Not a hard time, but I definitely now know more where they're coming from and where the pressures are for them that you wouldn't really know as just being an actor.
Right. So, and Alex, I assume you're just an onstage kind of guy.
Pretty much. I mean, honestly, like, it interests me to get involved with set and everything. I've never had the time and never really gotten into it, but I would totally love to learn a little about it. So I'm thinking about, next semester taking some classes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So speaking of classes, because I want to get into kind of the training that you have. I know that you had obviously very ingenious directors in high school to do all these original shows, which are tough to do. And then you've had all these great musicals and Shakespeare and all that in yours. So training, was it like on-the-job training for you guys, or did you actually have acting classes that you went to before Bergen? Did you do any acting classes?
I've studied with acting teachers before and like voice teachers. I study classical music. My ultimate goal is to be an opera singer.
Which you're a terrific singer.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody that had seen Company, you played the character Paul in Company, which was the marriage.
Yep.
The two Alex played with Amanda, future husband and wife in that show, and sang a great song. So I'm sorry. So opera is where you want to go?
I think so. However, here I study music and psychology, so I think I want to have music therapy as an actual career, get certified in that.
So what is your degree choice at Bergen?
It's a general studies degree. So I pretty much designed my own major, which is really helpful if you don't know exactly where you fall in.
So you take the general education courses that you need to take, which would encompass anything, and then you pick and choose the stuff to fill in for the other.
Exactly.
Oh, nice. And that will transfer to hopefully something that you might want to go into there.
Yeah.
And you're theater major.
I am. Yes.
Theater acting?
Yes.
Theater general? Theater, because we have 4 majors here. We have the dance, we have the general theater major, tech theater major, and acting major.
Yeah.
And you're an acting major.
Yes.
So before you came here, did you take any
No,
acting?
I just...
On the job.
On the job, yeah.
On the job, which
is naturally talented.
Just naturally
That's why.
well, that's for sure. But there's so much to be said about just being on the set and working and listening to a director and getting their feedback and watching other actors and just kind of go, oh, I see how to do this thing, and then go into classes. But you're taking classes now?
Yes, I am.
And what are you taking?
This semester I'm taking movement in the performing arts and basic acting technique.
Good, and I'll pick on that because we have our Fulbright scholar in resident, Rafael Bionciotto, as our special teacher for that class.
Yes.
What do you do in this movement for the performing artist?
It is a very interesting class. We strip ourselves of any outside influences, so we have to come in all black, and we put like black stockings on our head, and we wear black masks, and it's neutral mask, and it's just about moving your body enough, and when you're looking at someone, you have to fully look and being aware of like everything around you. Every time somebody makes some noise or a movement, you have to be aware of it and look to it and then continue with your conversation. And every time you're asked something, you have to wait 3 seconds to respond. So it's just becoming more aware as a performer.
And has that transferred to any of your rehearsal process?
Yeah, it definitely has, becoming more aware and listening more and paying attention more to what other actors are saying in their scenes so you can respond appropriately. So
great opportunity. Rafael's such a dynamic person, and then to be able to have the semester with him is great training. And then you take acting class as well.
Yes.
So do those two worlds come together? So now you're doing acting, because you're taking it with Mary Clifford, correct? And that's, what do you do in this, because it's basic acting, it's like the beginning.
It's basically a lot of improv games and just thinking on your toes, and I actually go from movement performing arts, and about 25 minutes later I'm basic acting, so it's kind of a shift to go from being really aware to going into improv and doing funnier things, and but it's definitely a lot of fun.
And do the worlds from what you've done with Raphael move into Mary's yet, or they seem very...
Right now they seem kind of separated.
And maybe somewhere these worlds will come together.
I definitely see they can come together.
Work and more character things. And a lot of people hear this word improv, and they're always thinking, whose line is it anyway? Have you done any improv? Have you done improv in theater
Not
like
so much, just as like exercises, but I've never actually been part of like an improv group per se. But I think that that's very helpful in finding out your natural habits and your natural tendencies as an actor. And also that's helpful to learn how to control those things because...
And listen.
Yes.
Right? I mean, listening's very important. You can't...
Yes.
if you come in with a pre-notion of what you're going to do, improv is lost. You're no longer improving anymore. So if in this class, it's not all comedy, right? You're not going for that improv funny,
no, we have done some dramatic pieces, and it gets really heavy in the classroom when we do them. But
intense. So yeah, so sometimes we always kind of go improv comedy, but in fact,
Yeah,
improv in an acting class can be very serious. And here you've got this a set of circumstances, and you create these characters right there on the spot and all that kind of stuff. So it's great.
Yeah.
And so you're second semester here.
Yeah,
right
second
now.
semester.
And you're third semester. And what are your plans after Bergen?
I want to transfer
on the road to graduation. Where are we going to?
I'd like to transfer to a four-year school. I'm still thinking about where, but I think I wanted to get a degree in music therapy.
Cool.
So.
Are you haven't picked any schools yet, or are you?
I'm looking at Montclair, Shenandoah Conservatory,
nice
Temple.
School. Good. Oh, good. So it doesn't have to be in the immediate area. You're ready to
No,
explore.
As long as it's for me, I think that's where I want to go.
And with your gen ed background, all this is going to transfer to wherever you
exactly
want to go, which is great. And what are your thoughts after you finish?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I was looking into possibly transferring to Montclair, but next semester I'm actually interning for Disney, so I'm not sure what I'm doing yet.
So we're going to lose you for a semester.
Yeah.
That's great. What does that mean?
I got accepted to their college program, so from August 10th to January 4th, I will be working at Disney and living there. So that's probably going to open some doors. So I'm not sure what's going to happen after that yet. So we'll see.
And do you know what you're going to be doing at Disney?
I'm doing main entrance operations, so kind of like a park greeter. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And you might miss snow.
Yeah.
We'll send some snow down to Orlando for you.
Okay, I'd appreciate it.
So we've been doing all this background to get you here, but we're also heading into our production of the Compleat Female Stage Beauty, which the two of you are working on. And we've had you on stage here before, but this is your first, and you're being directed by Michael Lapointe. How's that working with Michael?
He is unlike any director I've ever worked with in the sense that he allows the actor to almost, create what needs to be created by the actor. He's not giving so much direction as working with your own personal direction, which is really, really helpful and a really interesting way to work. And
in these rehearsals, I pop in every once in a while, just seeing you in the circles, just kind of talking. So it seems like, Rebecca,
it's a lot of character development where you need to understand your characters, and when you get into the scenes after doing all that development, you almost feel your character, and when you make your choices, you feel like you're making them as your character, not as yourself. So it's definitely an amazing process to go through.
Oh, it sounds
to get that deep into your character.
Which you've never had a director work this way with you.
No, and I think it's wonderful. It's really helping, especially with how different these roles are from us and what we have to go through, and the fact that Rebecca and I are really close and our roles are rivals.
Our rivals with each other. You're fighting each other, but you're such close friends, and it's tough to do. But having that dialogue in the circle and just kind of figuring out the background of these characters. Do you dig into the period? Because this is set in 1662. We're talking a little bit about Compleat Female Stage Beauty, which is the production coming up in April here at the Saccone Theater, and they're playing two very rich characters, but it's set in 1662 England when Charles II has just taken the throne. The monarchy has been restored, so this is like a restoration comedy. But it's a contemporary written piece too. Jeffrey Hatcher, I believe, is the playwright.
Yes.
And it's not old. It's not like a 1660s play. It was written like 10 years ago. I think it's that recent. But are you kind of working on trying to understand that period? Is that important, understanding this?
That is, I think, very important, especially because the history of actors and females getting on stage and everything is what this is about. So my role is the man who plays female roles, and he gets booted when she takes over.
And that's a great part of this the whole story. The crux of the story is the fact that Charles II has made a new rule saying women get to be on stage for the first time. And so Alex's character is suddenly out of a job as a female, working for females. So we're going to come right back. We're going to take a very short break because this is so great. We're going to get into the nitty-gritties of what's going on with the Compleat Female Stage Beauty. So we're going to take a break right now. Come right back and we'll be talking more with Alex and Rebecca.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Cheers. Thank you. Take time to be a dad today.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
From intimate black box performances in the Ender Hall Lab Theater to full-scale musical productions in the Anna Maria Saccone Theater, come to Bergen Community College at 400 Paramus Road in Paramus, New Jersey. For tickets or more information, call the box office at 201-447-7428 or visit us at tickets.bergen.edu. We'll be seeing you on Bergen Stages.
Hi, and welcome back to Bergen Stages Television. We're having a wonderful conversation with two of our featured performers in the upcoming production of the Compleat Female Stage Beauty by Jeffrey Hatcher. We'll be doing it in the Saccone Theater in April 10th it opens. Rebecca and Alex, just a little bit more chit-chat because we started before the break talking about the rehearsal process and that you're enjoying working with Michael. Maria Natalia is doing costumes, and she's already, because you're playing a female character, you're having to wear a rehearsal skirt through a lot of it. So both of you are in skirts walking around.
And it's pretty difficult to walk in a skirt and heels, I must tell you.
So let's talk about this play. Let's talk a little bit about the plot so our audience will understand kind of what we're talking about. What happens in this play, if you can?
Okay, so I don't want to give away too much.
Give away a little bit, just so that they know why, you're in a dress.
It's the 1600s in England, and on stage, men are the only people allowed to play roles. So males have to adapt to female roles. My role particularly has trained his entire life to play female roles, and he is adored. He is a celebrity.
He's the Brad Pitt of England at the time. Everybody just loves him because he's such a great actor.
And because he's such a diva, he gets very jealous easily, and he insults Margaret Hughes, who is her character.
And Margaret comes in. What do you want, Margaret?
I want to act, and I'm not afraid to get in Kinniston's way in a way, where I will eventually come to heads with him, and I come to audition at his theater, so we definitely have a rivalry starting very early on.
And you're the one that really, your character influences the king to make this law happen, to change the law on.
One of the lines is that I launched 1,000 claps, so.
And in this play, you have been playing, and again, if you know theater, especially from England, we know that this went on through Shakespeare's time, Christopher Marlowe, that women weren't on stage. That's why young men played Juliet and Romeo and Juliet, all these characters that we know. So this isn't a strange thing. It's just your character was brilliant at it. And then you come along and say, I want to do it, and get the king to say, not a bad idea. And of course, in Europe at the time, it had already changed. You know, in France, they were already doing it. In Commedia, we already had the female characters in Commedia, so it had already been happening. Even in Spain, women were on stage, but in England, it hadn't happened yet. And so what happens when you confront this character about being on stage? What happens between the two of you?
We argue a little bit. It doesn't work out so well for me at first, but then the mistress of the king, Nell Gwyn, comes in, and it's also her influence because she also enjoys theater.
She's very convincing.
Yes.
And this is the king's mistress.
Yes, Nell Gwyn, It's her influence along with mine that pushes for women to get onto the stage and get Alex out of the job.
But you don't really want to get him out. You just want to take over that job.
Yeah.
And the hope is what happens to your character.
Unfortunately, my character suffers a lot of losses. Physical injuries. There's a big fight, which we just choreographed last night, which is looking awesome. He pretty much loses everything, and the whole point is that he needs to find who he really is and not hide behind these roles that he's playing. And that's really the message that this show gives, is like, you know, find yourself. And that's
both the character he finds himself and also the characters he plays he finds with it. He has a struggle trying to do the male roles, isn't that?
Yes, it proves very difficult for him to play male roles.
And because?
Because his whole life he has played these female roles, and that's all he knows. He does not know, he even says it in the show, I don't know how to act a man.
Aren't there certain gestures that he knows to do? What are some of those gestures he knows that?
Okay, so we've got, when, in the Shakespeare world, in 1600s England, the way that they would act was not our naturalistic acting.
Right.
It was very gesture-based. So I'll give you one. The gesture for death is, and fear, you know. So it was very gesture-based, and it wasn't, the intonation of the voice wasn't the same, and it was presented outward to the audience and not necessarily as spoken as we are having a conversation now.
It was this a much more rhetorical style of acting, is what they call rhetorical style was, and there were books that told you all those different. You know, even as a public speaker, if you wanted to do certain things, you had this book that told you these gestures, and so you knew these gestures, and the character always knows to do them. And so when the king has to die, suddenly he's dying like a female, I assume.
Exactly, dying beautifully.
Dying beautifully, so he doesn't know how to do manly kind of dying. So that's that kind of a challenge for this character. And then the play is filled with other rich characters. Of course, we have Charles II, based on the true.
Yes.
And who else is in this case? It's told by Pepys?
Pepys.
Pepys.
Yes, Pepys. Samuel Pepys.
Pepys tells the story. He's kind of the narrator, yes? And how is he related to the characters?
Not that he has any true status, but he's I guess he's the nobleman's diarist. He keeps a log of everything. And these people were actually very real people. If you go back in history, you can find something on all of these people. So he kept records of everyone and everything that went on.
And so he is writing all this and kind of narrating us through the story of what has happened, this important period. And it was really, in theater history, it was a very important period for in Western theater especially. And so your character comes in, tries to take over the stage. How does she do? How does she do in her first?
She doesn't do so well at first, especially because she mimics Kynaston. She has studied him her entire life.
And what's wrong with that? That's, I think, an important part of that.
He is a man playing a woman, and she's a woman playing a woman, so it doesn't work when it's transferred that way. And she also exaggerates, and just it doesn't transfer over well, so she's not actually that great when she first starts out.
And her character, where is she economically? Is she?
She's higher class. She has a friend and a gentleman, Sir Charles Sedley, who helps her get into the theater world and everything. So she's definitely higher up, gets to go to the palace. And
is that any conflict between the two characters? The class distinction? Because, you know, in England, the class was a very important part of it. Have you explored it yet?
Not necessarily in the beginning, because Kynaston is looked with a higher status. However, when he loses everything that he has, he's the dirt of the world.
And he ends up performing in horrible places, doesn't he? Just to perform. The Cockpit, I think, is
the
one
Cockpit
of them.
Tavern with Mistress Revels.
So he just kind of lowers himself to do whatever he can do to do what he feels like he knows how to do.
Exactly.
And then is pulled up and kind of pulled up from it. Again, we don't want to give too much away, but the fact is that this play takes us on an incredible journey with your character, but with other characters as well, because I think while you try to find your true character, you guys all find your own.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey of finding yourself for many of the characters, a long emotional journey.
And so now we're in the midst of the rehearsal period, so you're doing blocking still. I assume you're in the blocking phases.
Still in blocking. Almost finished.
Almost finished, yeah.
And so now what happens? We'll finish the blocking phase. Then what does one do in the rehearsal process?
We lose the scripts and we focus on the characters and this story and how just letting it unfold.
So you've got the mask on now because you understand the characters because you sat around talking. You've kind of got your blocking, and now you're going to listen and play off of each other. And then, of course, we get into tech rehearsals. Tom O'Neill is designing the set for this, and it's an interesting set with so many different locations. This play, and then goes back and forth within a page. You're suddenly at different places there. So it's a but you got to keep up with this thing because it moves, and it's incredible with the scenery. And then Jared Saltzman's doing the lights, which is also going to play very much a part of the scenery because it has to help us with these locations. And then, as I mentioned, Marina Talley doing these costumes. What are the costumes going to look like?
They're fabulous.
They're wonderful. Big, billowy, beautiful, a lot of wigs.
Because this is Restoration England, and they don't wear costumes so much as they wear what they would have worn on the street onto the stage. So which were these wonderful wigs and you wear several wigs. And
yes, the white makeup, the wigs, really big dresses. I actually had trouble sitting down the other day when I first tried it on because there was just so much dress.
So much training. How do you sit on? And if you got a back on your chair, where do you put that?
You have to lift it properly, and then you sit very delicately.
How do you get trained? Who helps you with that?
Marie helped me.
Marie.
She taught me how to lift the dress properly so I could sit down without having fluff everywhere.
Or have suddenly your hoop skirt just up over your head there, sitting down. And you're having to learn this too. You're saying you're walking around in these heeled shoes.
Yep, and I'm telling you, it is very difficult. I commend women for walking around in heels and long skirts. I'm tripping everywhere. It's really a lot of work. So, but it's so helpful to be working in a skirt because I'm not female, so I don't know how it is. So it's really helping me get into the character, and this is what the character's used to. This is natural for him.
But the character doesn't always leave the theater. Still, he takes that drag off.
He wears traditional male clothing out in the outer world, but on stage it's all female.
Because that's the two worlds for him. It's
exactly
the world of him. But people recognize him walking down the street, even though he's wearing all this pale makeup and these wigs and all this. He's just screamed after. People just want to get his autograph or be with him, and because he's that great of a gifted an actor. It's almost like onegato, I think it's called in kabuki. You have these men that did these wonderful female roles, and they are just, revered. They're so, and I think that's kind of what he is in the British version of it. So now you're heading towards, and then you'll get into Tech Week and finally opening. Are you excited about this?
I'm so excited, and I think all the hard work that we're putting in is going to pay off. It's going to be such an excellent production, and everyone is so talented and so ready to just do this. We're all in this,
And like I said, there's some more rich characters, some other actors that we've had on stage before, and we got some novices before too. A few of the characters play several different roles, and it is rated R.
Yes.
It is rated R.
It's very adult language, adult subject matter, so we do want to make sure that you don't bring the little ones without them understanding that there's a lot of adult language and adult situations. So we did rate this R just so that everybody would know that. But not that should dissuade anybody from coming to the show, because it's a brilliant story.
It is,
It's a brilliant story. And never told. Nobody wrote this story until now. And I think that's what's so wonderful about our opportunity to do it, is that it's just such a fresh and wonderful thing to hear. So, anybody coming to see it? You guys got friends and family and all that kind of?
Friends, family, not my little brother and sister, not them.
Not yet, not yet. You'll show in the video years from now, but
yeah,
it
10
does,
years.
10 years from now. But it does have, you got some people coming to see it?
Yeah, friends and family, and I know that my English teacher actually wanted to come and see it. She taught me Othello in high school, so now that I'll be transforming into Desdemona at part of the show, she definitely wants to come and see me.
And that's wonderful. Jeffrey Hatcher, in writing this, uses Othello as a vehicle through very parts of it, and we just keep kind of just one scene, basically, right? Over and over, we see the
Othello scene.
The Othello
it's
scene.
The Desdemona death scene.
Yes.
So we do see that and clips of it, so we get that glimpse of Shakespeare in it, and we keep going in and out with you playing it, and then suddenly these women that want the role, and of course you become a teacher in it. Doesn't your character?
Yep, he becomes Margaret's coach.
And he's made to do this. Is he made to do this?
He's bribed to do this.
Bribed.
And he has his own intentions for what he's going to do with this.
Not giving too much away.
Not
going to give too much away.
But for someone that's going to take your role away, we kind of get the idea of if he's training her, where he wants to go with it. So you were bribed to do it. And there's another character. There's another female in here who's your seamstress, right?
Maria.
Maria.
Yes.
And Maria also wants to be on stage, and you work with Maria as well. This is such an incredible play. This is such an incredible play, and I'm so excited that we're doing it. I remember seeing the Stage Beauty, the film of it, and falling in love with it. When I found out it was a play, I knew we had to do it, and the play selection committee picked it. So, guys, we're out of time. We could talk forever about the show, but it's so exciting. But we don't want to give too much away, so what we're going to do is encourage our audience to please get tickets.
Please.
We're at the Saccone Theater. It opens April 10th. Runs for 7 performances. We have 2 matinees at 2 o'clock on both of the Saturdays. It's called Compleat Female Stage Beauty. On the screen now you will see the poster, and you can get tickets at our box office or going to tickets.bergen.edu. Rebecca, Alex, this has been phenomenal. Break a leg with the show. Thanks for being a part of our television show today.
Thank you.
All right. And come back and see us for Bergen Stages Television. Thank you. We'll see you at the theater.